Thinking with potatoes is the title of my presentation. The presentation will showcase attempts to think about the Swiss and Alpine landscapes through plants in the context of increased greening of the Alps due to global warming, which links to a rising presence of foreign plants and the endangerment of native plants. In the case of a potato, the crop is both an integrated migrant within the Swiss landscape and a relative newcomer at certain altitudes. So in my practice, I am particularly interested in the narratives around weeds and invasive species, and also in how cultural initiatives negotiate environmental pressure in Alpine territories in regards to economical pressure, tourism, liberal guilt, or green economy. So today we will look at the interdisciplinary project Spenja. This is a collaborative project. We are many, I will mention everybody, developed within the frame of Arve's presence in Arosa. So yes, it investigates the history of potential future of a potato, and it looks at how the potato may open a series of interrogation about how we negotiate our surrounding landscapes, especially in mountainous geographies such as Arosa. So a little bit about Arve. So Arve is not my project, I was a guest, I will explain after. Arve is an initiative aiming to develop projects beyond institutional boundaries, rooted within exchanges between the arts, science, and local communities, and to raise awareness about the environmental crisis, translating knowledge into action. The project is run by co-founders and directors Alexandra Müller-Crépon and Tara Lasrado. They are joined by communication officer Roman Ernst and Arosa coordinator and hotelier Tina Arpagus. So in the course of 2021, alongside 5 other people, I was invited to take part in Arve's first initiative, the Arosa Collective. We were 2 artists, 1 landscape architect, 2 biologists, and 1 forester invited to work hand in hand with local experts and with the Arve team. The aim was to investigate which new perspectives on tackling the environmental crisis could emerge when people from Arosa, scientists and artists work together. So a big brief. We first met in Arosa in summer 2021 for the research phase, encountering the landscape, but also the locals and each other. Starting with an art therapy workshop, we followed a program of site visits and meetings to identify the needs, the challenges, but also the opportunities for potential projects in close exchange with the local experts that Arve had previously identified and approached. We looked, for example, into local history, sustainable tourism, local politics, food production and distribution, water systems, and we debriefed through very regular brainstorm meetings. So the collective and the local experts. So you have Marc-Anthony, who's a microbial biologist, myself, Beat Urech, who is the chemist and a soap maker. He has his own company based in Arosa. Bettina Chua, a journalist for the Arosa Zeitung and also a deputy manager in a restaurant, so working in gastronomy. Oh, sorry. Nadine Keller, PhD candidate at the Institute of Terrestrial Ecosystems. Paloma Ayala, visual artist. Claudio Ferber, Arosa District Forester. Violeta Burkhardt, landscape architect. Roland Burkley, Arosa Fontaine Master, it's a good title for him. Ruth Leach, Arosa citizen since 1928 and storyteller, she's fantastic. Simon Max, forest scientist. And Evis Prescher and Hans-Peter Moller, so we run the organic garden Schanfig. So that's the full team. So a few weeks later, after our first meeting, we went back for a second time for the lab phase, during which we met with Arosa's mayor and the director of Arosa Tourism. And following numerous work sessions, gatherings and reflections, we were asked to team up and to evaluate and develop specific projects, proposals, addressing the topics encountered during the research phase. So we formed two research groups, and we were given then 3 weeks after the trip to finalize our proposal, the proposal which was then assessed by Harvey's advisory board. You can find all those information on their website. So I teamed up with Bettina and Violetta, and we submitted the project Spensa, which is a project informed by food system dynamics, security, and biodiversity. We are, of course, strongly helped by the Harvey team and Arosa Local in the development of our projects. So it's not just the 3 of us who made Spensa. We asked ourselves how to cultivate transdisciplinary collaboration, which takes time and care, how to reflect on the land and its uses, how to reflect and make tangible the production and consumption of food, and how to cultivate our own presence, both on the ground and online, since we use a lot of web presence, all of us at the moment, even more so. So Bettina works in gastronomy. This is the restaurant she worked in Arosa. And she raised our awareness regarding the origin and the transportation of the food consumed in Arosa. In Arosa, you can eat algae from the Atlantic. You can find all sorts of foods. So asking, where does our food come from? How does it grow? Are there regional options? We are so used to everything being available everywhere all the time. So this was one of the big topics she raised, and that sparkled a lot of thinking. Violetta, who teaches at ETH and created the installation Migrating Landscape at the Venice Biennale, was also interested in addressing land manipulation and the human-plant relation of Kulturpflanzen since the earliest beginnings of agriculture. Just telling you how we got to a potato. And for myself, with, for example, this work currently on display at LABEC, I work on the circulation of unwanted vegetation, land management, and architectonic tools in the landscape. And I was interested in ways to stimulate and translate our research through events and our publication, which is something I do in other collaborative projects. So, for example, the work I just showed was translated into a series of workshops, which eventually led to the publication of a collection of essays, which was then unpacked again through a series of performative dinners with many potatoes on the menu. And as another collaboration between Harvey Food Culture Days, Teti Group, and the SAE Greenhouse Lab in Zurich. So our starting point was, for the potato, was the story of Arosa farmers having had to trade their land to Cour and other larger municipalities for food, including potatoes, during times of distress and famine. So alongside our visit at the organic garden Schanfig, which you see in the picture, and our meeting with Evie and Hans-Peter, this triggered our interest to show the potential that lie in localizing food system in the Alpine region. On the right, you see potato flowers. But also how to inscribe the local conversation within its global entanglements. So we decided to visit and document local Spensa. So the Spensa, finally, is a pantry found in all Grison houses where potatoes, flour, apples were stored. Nowadays, it's mainly cans and preserves. It shows also like how food has changed. So those pantries were colder areas than the rest of the house and acted as sort of fridges. So we thought of the Spensa as a place to store, but also as a possible metaphor for us to collect and grow our potato stories, making it visible and accessible physically and online. So next we visited the Maran Garden. The Maran Garden is an experimental station existing since 1932 for the cultivation of potatoes and for the foraging of meadows variety in alpine altitude. It is maintained by Agroscope. And the plants are tested and analyzed for their property. And they grow many varieties of potato, which we got some crops from them because we decided to create a potato pod garden within the public sphere of Arosa with 15 species supplied by the Maran Garden. I could tell over. I can send you like the list of all the species if you're interested. Most of the species are supported by Pro Species Rara, a Swiss foundation that supports the biodiversity of cultivated plants within the country. And we collaborated with the Gemeinde of Arrosa and their town gardeners to recycle old pots and to distribute them around town. These pots of potatoes joined the annual array of decorative flowers through Arrosa, and there was an interesting tension about, which plants and flowers are most decorative or not decorative enough. So this is the map of Arrosa with all the pots. So each time there was 3 pots with 3 different species. So yeah, those spots, they were a way of expressing this ornamental potential of a potato. Some people agree, some less, while illustrating the potential of a local production of alpine crops, as well as the care that goes into food cycle. And so the idea was that from June on when the potato were blooming, that Arrosa locals were able to watch the 15 different potato variety apt to grow in alpine altitudes. And therefore get to know this plant, which is like such a common food, but is like so little known in its specificity. And to ensure that the pots got enough water, we had several godparents involved, which were local inhabitants who had like home or businesses next to the pots, and we were taking care of them. We had QR codes leading to our online platform, as well as leading to the map with all the other pots location. So alongside this planted potato pot garden, we made an online growing archive of potato stories, with stories inside and outside Arrosa, because we wanted to bring together this local global tension and interconnection. So thinking again of the Spensa as a content storage to prepare us for an uncertain future, to create a growing network of same-minded people dealing with similar topics across different geographies. The list of contributors include people from Arrosa, from Switzerland, from Europe, but expanding to other international participants dealing with similar topics and in other geographies. In order to first support knowledge to the local situation in Arrosa. So a few examples of contributions to give you an idea. So here we have a contribution by photographer Roman Ernst. We made a photo reportage of Spenzas in Arrosa. We have cooking common potato stories, graphic essay about the history of a potato. Cooking potato stories, a photographic essay, harvesting potato stories by Ana Núñez Rodriguez. Voilà. Some common potato stories, a graphic essay about the history of a potato, but by Maria Alexandrescu. Biography of a potato, a photographic essay about the cultivation of potatoes in the Bhojpur region of Bihar by Dharmendra Prasad. The Circle and the Dots, a souvenir of Henri Cueco, a literary essay with recipes by writer Gabriel G. The Biogarden, an interview of local gardener Evis Prescher by Bettina Chua. A recipe by local chef Thomas Kretli. And another example, how to make potato starch bioplastic, an essay and DIY recipe by Teina Campos and Mariela Marcial. So, and there's more, and there's also more to come. Maybe, I don't know if you noticed while I was sharing the articles, maybe I went a little bit quickly, but they were the little fry icon around there. And this fry icon, it's Easter egg, or in this case, we call it an Easter potato. This was designed by Sarah Garcin. Sarah Garcin is a chef and a designer, and she's the web developer of Spensa. Maybe I should explain. So in web culture, Easter egg is a message, an image, or a feature hidden in a software, video game, a film, or like any electronic medium. So we decided to make this online platform since the content was meant to grow. But we also talked, of course, about making a publication. And at the time, there was a lot of comments about how a publication wasn't a good decision from an ecological point of view. But actually paper is recyclable, and the carbon cost of online activity isn't, which is something that we're not so aware of. And the internet and online activities leave a huge ecological footprint. So we asked ourselves, how can this website live up to our ambition to a sustainable project? Because as with all web platforms, creating our growing archive implied energy consumption, circulation of data. And so we asked ourselves, how can we link the topic of sustainable cultivation of local crops with the way we cultivate our presence online? And we looked therefore in the topic of web permaculture. So as you know, probably permaculture is widely known as a sustainably structured agricultural system, but the principles of permaculture can also be applied to designing websites in a sustainable and inclusive way. So with the help of Sarah, we looked into simple measures we could take to minimize the climate impact of our online archive. So for example, the reduction of image size, no JavaScript, no image logo, no tracking, and also downloadable articles. I forgot to say that, I'll show you just before, you can download like every article, there's a PDF. So also for offline reading. And what was really great was also like this addition of like the Easter potato, which in a very subtle and humorous way translate the energy consumption of like web platforms and creates awareness about the web's carbon cost. So in June 2021, we had a public presentation and display of a project in Arosa at the Nature Labor. And that's one more Easter potato. And one more. And our next event will be our October Harvest Festival. So we will collect the potatoes from our city pot garden, and we will cook a feast with all of our Arosa collaborators and anybody who wants to join. And of course, the Spencer platform will keep growing. I have no idea if I was too short or too long, but I'm done. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the audience or any reflections? It requires some warm-up usually.
Wait. No, but of course, I also invite you to go and consult also like the Arve website for more information about their project, which will also continue. But yeah, it's for Alex and Tara to communicate about this.
Yes. I really love how your project is very concrete. You know, we have been having today really amazing perspectives, you know, from theory through different understandings or multiplicity of kind of understandings of the notion of the landscape and cultural understanding of what we do in the landscape or land with earth or with the landscape. And you are bringing in really something that is very down to earth or even beneath the earth, I would like to say. And I love also how, you know, how the project basically how you shape the project results. I think they are very creative with the archive, online archive, and this really amazing engagements with different modes of thinking about what can be learned from the aspects you presented. But I wonder, you know, whether you also looked, or whether this would be valuable at all. You looked at other forms of, or, you know, similar traditions of storing food or doing this kind of, having this kind of practice elsewhere, and whether this would be valuable, or what this was kind of outside view, or, you know, would bring to your project.
Yes, I mean, we mainly looked at crop storage, so like old and new crop storage and the storage of foods. But and we explored it. I should have shown the picture of the exhibition. I was worried to be too long, so I tried like to make it short. But in the exhibition, we made some display also using like different storage options also. So this is something that I guess we will explore also like more concretely if we bring the project also like to another physical space. Because the online archive is more like it is a storage in itself, and it's so yeah, we have a different content like objects inside this storage. But yes, we keep getting sent like pictures of like different ways to store and display potatoes, like weaved baskets. Yeah, keep it coming if you see some.
Do you encounter also, challenges in the communication with the locals or with the people that you try to collaborate with, in terms of the different understanding of the world, of the practices that you're investigating?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's a lot of challenges in those projects, as probably all the artists present know, because there's a huge pressure also like put on artists to visualize and translate, and which is not, yeah, I mean, that's another topic. But and of course there's a lot of communication to do in between fields, like also like between also like when we were working with the scientists, and also we all have shortcomings like in terms of what we think the others do, and how we like, and how we think it should work. So it takes a lot of time on the ground, but I have to say that, yeah, Alex and Tara are very involved and engaged, and this helped a lot. But yes, of course, like this is always more complicated than one thinks upon entering such processes. And with the locals, we were lucky to, so of course this was challenging because there's many people with different opinions. And the biggest issue we had was really, which is quite funny, was the way the pots looked. This was the biggest issue we had. The aesthetics of the pots we chose was because it was too utilitarian, which was kind of the point. But also it was not decorative enough. So it was also like kind of like tackling into, what we think nature should do also in certain contexts. And yeah. But yes, Alex and Tara arranging also like prior to our arrival, like to identify and connect with very engaged also and interesting locals. This helped a lot. I mean, Bettina was on my team. She's a Rosa local, and the connection, like in collaboration with her, has been. It was unexpected that it would develop so much. It would become so meaningful. And of course, we lost people along the way. This happens. And the most difficult is probably like to connect with scientists, because they have so little time, and they have also like very strict also goals and ways and yeah, specific ways of working. So as artists, we found ourselves like being the ones that made the most compromises, stretching, improvising. But that was also very interesting. I mean, that's what artists do anyway.
Thank you. And yes, we have. Could you come up to the mic, because we are recording this.
So intimidating that it's recorded. Hello, Damien.
So you said you chose 17 different kinds of potatoes, right?
15.
Together with agroscope and Prospecia rara.
Exactly.
What criteria did you use to choose the different species? Was it chosen in regards to the location of they were growing, like the height, and or about the storage capacities, or because they were pretty? Or?
Yes, no, exactly. It was in terms of it was chosen like with agroscope. It was recommended by agroscope regarding our growing situation, which was like the size of the pots, like the ground that was being used, the altitudes, and yes.
It really nicely looks us also back, or links us back to current art Safenthal with our own potato.
So I heard, yeah, I received
Right
pictures
here.
from that project actually. Yes, that looks great. Yes,
project. Yes, and
Yeah.
also I actually posed myself the question. It was just as before, what kind of criteria, which is so interesting. What kind of selection criteria played a role in this in the process.
Yes, we have. We just to finish, like I should have said, we have also on the platform like a description for each potato species that has been chosen and is growing also in the potato pot garden. If you're interested.
Super, thank you. Another question.
Hi. So I was actually wondering if you investigated the storage of potatoes and the importance of potatoes during the wars, because I remember seeing, I don't remember the name, but foreign film, which really, it was like in the morning, the lady who was living in the smallest village during the wartime, in the morning, she would get up, she would bake a potato, eat it, and after a few hours, she would bake a potato and eat it. And that scene really made an impact on me, how the importance of potato was during the wartime. And maybe it was, something which was the only thing that could be stored in a way that lasted long, or I don't know. I'm just wondering if you investigated that.
From what I know, like in Switzerland, and also I'm not a specialist, but from what I know, like they were I forgot the name. Like there were a lot of during the wartime. There were a lot of gardens, like especially like for potatoes and other crops that were developed in all pieces of land that were available. But yes, I'm not Swiss, so I don't master my Swiss local history.
Any other question? Yes, please.
Hello.
Hello.
You work as an artist, but you also make presentation. You also present it as an artwork in, for example, in a gallery. Or you make presentations on a photo series, or how do you?
Myself or this project?
This project, because this started as an art project, I think.
Yes. I mean, it's a collaboration. It's art, science. It's a collaboration in Arosa. So and it was exhibited in a display in Arosa, but more in a sort of I guess an educational display in the sense that we were showcasing.
Because here you presented as artwork in Safenthal.
In Safenthal, no, I took part in 2018. There was something very different. Yes, but that I heard about the potato project in Safenthal, which we're not connected to yet, but we know of, and we will connect with. So yes, it was presented like as a sort of just educational display, like because also like we wanted to make something that was very accessible also because Arosa is also not a destination for necessarily like contemporary art. So we wanted to convey like more about the content that we had been researching rather than focusing on displaying aesthetic shapes or like and so we showcase like all the content that we had been gathering, like the different archive content, like scientific and historical, and we showcase samples. I have to say also that this was showcased alongside the other projects. We were two projects that were being developed within this frame, and the other project was, which I cannot really talk about because I was not part of, but it was working on like waste and mushrooms. So we were showcasing those two projects, the mushroom and the potato projects, together in the Nature Labor in Arosa. But yes, with also like videos, with a lot of mediation, I would say.
Going to check it.
And a mixture of visuals and text. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, hey.
Hello, Yanis.
Nice having you back here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. 1.5 questions. So the first one you partly already answered, but congratulations on the project. I love it. Transdisciplinary is key. So you showed us all the different partners from the various fields, and you also mentioned that the scientist has so little time. So maybe you could add a bit more about the workflow and also the maybe not problems, maybe the challenges, but also the positive surprise of this very transdisciplinary collaboration, and yeah, also the issue of time. And then I follow up with that.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, we thought we had like a lot of time like on the site and also like off site like to develop a project, but of course like this went by very quickly, so time is always difficult. But and also like, yeah, it takes longer also, like, I mean, we need authorizations, we need like there's a lot also of negotiation, but this went quite well, like also thanks to the connections in Arosa that Harvey had facilitated. But yeah, and there were also like things that maybe like also we didn't have enough budget for, and there were different ideas that we couldn't realize, and so we had to be realistic and inventive. But this was all part of the process, and I think that was the most interesting thing. Also, it was learning from the process, because this was the first time for most of us to be in this sort of art and science collaboration. I had been working with scientists like in another context at the ZZDK, and I remember we were mainly being asked to visualize the research with graphics, and so this was something that from the start we say like also like a shortcut that we would like that to be clear that we are here like as collaborators, as co-researchers, like on a topic. We are not here like just to aestheticize or like or convey like a content like in some sort of shape. And this worked quite well, and of course, yes, some people were more available than others, and also for. Are you here? Are you frozen? Sorry, I thought you were frozen. And yes, I mean, some people had very strict agenda. We didn't allow them like to maybe take the time like for the process to evolve, but the people who stayed like were very committed, and this was like, yeah, largely thanks to also the organizer being like participant in their own rights, and they didn't give us a brief and then left us to do it. They were with us like the whole time. We worked with them, so I think that was like one of the very important aspects of it. And I don't know also like if it made a difference, but also like it was a very feminine adventure. So there was also a lot of discussions also around ecofeminism and care and taking care of each other, and taking responsibility and following up and making time, making space, and so this was all very interesting, and the fact that we also managed to create a meaningful project with small means, and a project that also both had a physical presence in the town, but that also like opens up to a larger context and can live on as well and continue to develop. This, I think, like, yeah, was a nice surprise.
Yeah, congrats on that. So just to wrap up and hand over to Anna, I'm also really surprised. So it's a pilot project, and it turned out so well. And will there be a follow-up? And also at the end, we have to talk about finance. Everything looks really great. So you need time. Time means money. I look at the website. I see pioneer funds of micro. You had the time to really dig in, and does it goes on?
So it's not really for me to say. It's really for Alex and Tara. So I think it will go on, but yeah, they will announce it in their own time and way. And yes, it was funded. I mean, I'm also like not so knowledgeable about the funding, about that. It was supported by the city of Arosa. It was supported by the Migros Culture Fund, Pioneer Fund, sorry. And yes, this gave us, and also like there was also like a collaboration with Tina, with an atelier who welcomed us in a hotel. There was yes, many.
But you as an artist got paid.
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't understand. That was the question. Yes, of course, we got paid. We got paid for our time. Like we got also refunded for our transport. We didn't have extra costs such as food. This was covered. No, of course, this was very, very good conditions. But still, like it was, I mean, like with what we wanted to do, like also like the budget, the realization budget was not so huge, so we also had to but that's, we're used to this, like no, but just to say that if there had been like more budgets, we could have done also like much larger project, because there was the potential for it.
Okay, grand. Congrats at that. I hand over.
Merci.
Anne-Laure, I'm just back here to say thank you again for this wonderful conversation and presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, and I invite you to have a look at spenza.ch. Also like to read some of the articles, to download the PDF, and also like to check out the profiles of all the collaborators that made this project possible. Thank you.
Great, amazing. I hope that you stay with us for tonight's presentation, for tonight's keynote, which will start just after the intermission. So as I know, it will be Ursula Biemann also in conversation with them, and Christina will have a screening of Forest Mine. So please stay with us. We are going now into intermission. I think five minutes late, yes, and we have some cookies here for those of you who are here. So there will be some sweets and drinks. And yes, let's just meet at 17:45 for the Forest Mine screening first. See you very soon.